Hi everyone, this is Rachel from the Dotting Center, and today is part 2 in a 2-part series on how to dot this sugar skull. This is Rose, and she's my feisty chica, and we're halfway done painting her, and I can't wait to share with you this second half because that's where all the fun comes in. Now, before we get started, I'd like to let you know that this painting is available as a PDF pattern download that you can get from my Etsy shop. It gives you everything you need to create this painting as well as create your own sugar skulls. You get all the elements that you need so that you can design your own. And if you're interested, check out the description box below for the link. Now, really quickly, let me go over what we covered in the first video.
We transferred the skull pattern to canvas and painted the base coat. We added cute little teeth and painted a base coat for the rose. Then we used applicator bottles to apply plumped up fire engine red lips and delicate details to the petals of the rose. Then we started to add some bright and colorful decorative elements to the skull using FOLKART's amazing color shift paints.
Phew, yeah, that's about it, so you're up to speed. Now in this video, we are going to add a gold tooth. We're going to add some foliage to her beautiful crown of flowers. We're going to add some nice details to that rose. And we're going to plump up those teeth, do some dental work, and make them extra shiny and 3D. And then at the end, I show off by using 2 different kinds of varnishes, both gloss and matte, for an extra cool little finishing touch right at the end. So now let's take our dotting tool and just walk some black dots around each of the eye sockets here. And in the end, what I ended up doing was connecting those with that inside black background so that they're more like connected lashes than kind of dots that are set out by themselves. Now, she's got a gold tooth. You know she's hardcore. If you can tell me the next lyric to that 1989 rap classic, it will totally make my day. Just type it in the comments. Make a video creator smile. So now we're going to add some color to her cheeks by using dotting rods in descending sizes all along her cheekbones. And this is in the pattern, so you can just use a tool that fits. Okay, so now using a stylus tool and that pink flash, we're just gonna surround those green dots with some pink dots, a little pink spiral on each cheekbone. So the reason these are called sugar skulls is because the authentic ones are made by using boiled sugar, and they pour them into a moist clay mold. And apparently only a few masters know how to do this. It's been handed down from generation to generation how to make these. But they come out a beautiful white hollow skull that is then ready to decorate. Pretty neat. Now we're going to move back to the rose up at the top, and we're going to stipple in some shading using my 1/8 inch pointed silicone tool. Now I used a dark red for the paint here, but I ended up wanting more contrast. So everywhere that you see where I'm adding dark red, go ahead and use black. Trust me on this one. It looks a lot better the more contrast it has. So basically what you're doing is just going over all of the dark areas. So wherever it is, the petal is underneath another petal, you use black. And then as the petal extends out, you're going to end up using a brighter red. But for now, we're going to add all of the dark parts. The dark parts. Now we're going to come in using that bright red and just add some bright red dots along the tips of all those petals. Now I picked the red rose as the centerpiece for this skull because a red rose signifies true love and also beauty and sensuality, and it's a blossomed rose too. So this means that it's a sign of hope and new beginnings. And also, I feel like this woman lived her life to its fullest. She had a great life, and she was able to, get as much out of it as she could. And then that little blood drop that's going to extend down from that bottom petal, blood symbolizes life and the essence of life. So I feel like by adding that, it just means that she extracted every bit of life out of what was given to her on this earth. And yeah. So when you pick a symbol for your sugar skull, try and see if there's any secondary meanings that might happen. And, pick ones that mean something to you. And if you're doing a sugar skull for a departed loved one, pick symbols that you think are appropriate for that person. It might be an interesting project to work through, because remember, it's a celebration of that person's life and not a something that is, a grieving or any kind of sad thing. It's a happy thing. Okay, so now we're going to add some greenery to her cranium, and we're going to add it all in the white spaces up in the skull, surrounding all the flowers. And I think what this does is not only does it fill in that space really well, but it ties all the flowers together, making it look kind of like a wreath headband. And it's very feminine, very flowy, and it has a nice feel to it, nice light, airy feel about it. Now all these shapes are in the pattern, but I highly recommend just trying this for yourself, filling in all those negative spaces with dotted shapes and swooshes and lines and dots. It really is a fun way to paint, and it's kind of like a pattern fill. Wherever you need to cover up or add some interest, you can always do something like this. And yeah, this is fun. If it were up to me, I would say you should freestyle this just to see how it feels. It's really cool. Now make sure that your painting is fully dry if you want to try it and see if you can do it. Make sure your painting is dry so that just in case you mess up, you can just like wash away the paint and start again. But try it without the transfer first and see how you like it. This is a lot of fun. So now I had to deal with the chin, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll just do like a standard pattern down here in gold. And at first I liked it, but then the more I lived with it, the more I realized that it looked kind of like a 5 o'clock shadow. And my girl Rose, you know, she is not cool with that. So I ended up fixing that in the end. So if you want to skip that 5 o'clock shadow, go right ahead, and you can do something a little different down there. Okay, so now all the designy stuff is done, and now we're going in and just dotting all of the negative spaces that are still left on the skull. And you can find areas where you can walk the dots, like here, and then you just do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to add some swooshes right on the upper lip, above the lips, and underneath the nose. Now I'm just adding some purple micro dots into the in-between sections of those lips, just to add some interest. Now some highlights using Pink Flash right on top of that lip. Okay, so I want to wake you guys up. I want you to pay attention because this next part was so much fun. Just so much fun. Watch. Whoa, right? Oh my God, so good. So now we're adding lash boost. Gonna lash up those peepers. And she's looking pretty good right about now. So at this point, I stepped back and I lived with her for a little bit, and I started to realize, okay, that nose thing is gonna go, and then her 5 o'clock shadow needs to get fixed. So I blacked out the nose, and then while I had the black out, I went ahead and added black dots to the rose, because when that dried, it just didn't have enough contrast for me, and I'm really happy that I made that black stippled pattern on the inside. It adds so much more contrast to that rose and just makes it pop a little bit better. So now I'm going to go in and add highlights to each of those petals. And for the inside petals, I'm using my tiniest gauge tip from my applicator bottles. Just wanted to see what that looked like. And that really works. Now, I'll show you after this. Stylus tools work just as good. They're a little bit bigger, but yeah, I'll show you both ways. So now coming in with my tiniest stylus tool, you can see that the highlights here are a little bit thicker, but they still do the job. Now we're adding blue to the inside of that nose, and I think that looks much better than the gold that was there before. Now, all of my art projects have really good dental coverage. It's 100% coverage, zero deductible. I take care of my work. And so her teeth were good. They were healthy, good teeth. She ate really clean, and she flossed and everything. But she needed some veneers. So I went in and I added some shine and some puff to her teeth. Made them more realistic looking. Now this is medium body acrylic paint, and so it holds its shape when it dries, unlike liquid acrylic paint, which flattens out when it dries. So it's all about the body of the acrylic and the application method as to whether or not you're going to get some lift on your paint. Now here I'm adding some pink to those cheeks. And also, if you'll notice, on either side of her smile, there's little black swooshes that kind of accentuate the curve of her smile. And I didn't film that, but that's something that I think adds a lot of character and makes her smile a little bit more bright. So, like I said before, that the chin section was kind of bothering me. It kind of looked like a 5 o'clock shadow was happening, and I wanted to correct that. So I took some white and I went in between all of those dots and then over the top of the dots right on her chin. And that made it be more of a highlight than a shadow. And I feel like it really fixed that whole situation that was happening down there. And I like it much better than with the gold. Okay, so the painting is now fully dry and all the chalk lines have been removed. And I noticed that my black background had a yucky texture. It just didn't have a uniform shine on it. So I decided to use this Liquitex matte varnish for the background, and then to further pop and enhance my rose sugar skull, I used this high gloss varnish, both Liquitex, and I'm going to do just the skull in the gloss and then use the matte for the background. So let's see how that looks. Now when you apply the matte varnish, don't worry too much about getting it exactly perfect around all the floral details. That you can do with the gloss in the end. So you want to basically paint all the way up to the skull, and then we'll deal with all the glossy details later. Alright, so it says that you need to wait 3 hours in between varnish coats. So let's just pretend like I did that. And now we're going to go in and do the gloss right on top of the skull. Okay, so now we're going to go in, and all of the elements that are overhanging off of the edge of the skull, we're going to go in with the shiny high gloss varnish on the end of our dotting tool and just go right over the top of all those flowers and all the greenery, and just like pop them out from that matte black background. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, whoa, Rachel, that's crazy. And I gotta say, this kind of stuff makes me so happy, all this little detail kind of things. I didn't used to be a good finisher, and now I feel like finishing strong, doing something like this really adds a little bit of a professional touch, and it makes it look a little bit more finished. And I just love this technique. I'm always looking for ways to add a little bit of contrast, and in this case, it's a contrast in finishes. So matte finish versus gloss finish. I think it just looks really cool. So what do you think? Did you all enjoy this project? Oh boy, I did. I've got 3 skulls lined up right now to do behind this one, and I am ready to go. I cannot wait to get on to the next sugar skull. And if you are curious as to what those are going to look like, come and hook up with me on Instagram or Facebook. I always share everything on Instagram, even the fails. So I really hope that you liked this video as much as I liked making it. And if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel because I have a new video coming every week. Now, if you're interested in this pattern, come visit me at the Dotting Center on Etsy. I will hook you up with some sweet new tools, whatever you need, I'm there for you. Alright guys, until next time.